Today we're recapping Joy of 6 2022, a wargaming show in the UK dedicated to 6mm scale miniatures. This is a scale we love and an event that the guys in our club have always wanted to attend. So you can imagine our surprise when we discovered just how many gamers on both sides of the Atlantic have never even heard of this show. We'll bring you inside the venue to see the games, the traders, and our interviews. But before all that, let's start with the man responsible for luring us over here in the first place.
The Joy of 6 is a strange little show. It started 10, 12 years ago, more as an idea for a few people to get together to play some 6mm games, and it was purely a Baccus 6mm gaming day. But we found that people wanted to come along, more traders wanted to come along, people wanted to put on games, and before we knew it, we had a proper wargame show. So at that stage, we changed the name, we made it the Joy of 6, we made it inclusive, we brought more traders on board, and people liked it. So that every year since then, it's grown bigger, we've had to get bigger premises, we've had more people through the door, and they all demand more. It continues to grow, and I think the hobby's better for that.
Peter hosts open workshop tours of the Baccus facility the day before the show, and we got to tag along for the morning session. Stay tuned for a separate video of the workshop where we learned how 6mm figures are sculpted, molded, and cast. But for now, let's get to the show and talk about some of our favorite games.
So Tom, what was your favorite game of the show?
There were so many. I mean, they're all so well done. At a show like this, you don't have any outliers where, somebody just threw it together. So they put a lot of thought into it. The very large Battle of the Little Bighorn was very eye-catching, used hexes. And what I loved about it was they really captured the fact that forces in that battle didn't know where anybody else was, really. So there was an expanse there that I think delivered that.
Yeah, well, I'm Dan from Ravelli, which is my little painting company I started many years ago. And I've come to the Joy of 6 again. I've been to every show, actually. It's the one show I always come to with Peter. And I've finally managed to put on the Battle of the Little Bighorn. I thought, yeah, we'll do it in 6mm, and then we can do the whole battlefield instead of just Custer's Last Stand, which most people do when they do the battle, which is only the last sort of 15 minutes, really. So this way we could do the whole of the thing, starting from about 3 o'clock. Reno's charge up the valley, Custard coming along, Benteen arriving, and then B Company with the mules, with the ammunition and all that lot. So we did the full thing, which was fun. It's the first time we played it, actually. The kids kind of congregate and play it, which is always good, because you look around, there's not that many kids here, as we know. It's turned into an old man's hobby. That's another question altogether. But it's good to get the kids playing it. And it's nice that they read the history as well, because they didn't do what Custer did, of course. They decided not to split all his troops up, to keep them together and not try and take the village. So it was a hard-fought battle for the Sioux today.
All right, so Miles, what caught your eye and what did you do?
I think what caught my eye was Per Broden's Lund game. The miniatures are superbly painted and kind of put to rest the rumor he can't really paint 6mm to a high standard. What also caught my eye is it was a winter battle scene, and probably the best winter terrain I've ever seen in the game. And so superb miniatures, superb terrain, and Per is a walking encyclopedia about the period.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it was fascinating to talk to him about. I learned a lot and really enjoyed seeing that game.
I had a good chance to talk to Per and Nicholas, the rules writer for that, and really has me very interested in doing something in the period.
Yeah. It's always dangerous when we leave a con with a new project in our heads.
The game that I really enjoyed was the Battle of Cornshaw, which is an Iran-Iraq battle. It was actually put together by the D-side defenders. And the thing about that game was that it was a very small table, but yet because it was just beautifully crafted, it made the experience.
Hey there, I'm here at Joy of 6 in lovely Sheffield, UK, and I am joined right now with Alex from Storm of Steel. You should all be familiar with Alex. How does this show compare, particularly coming back after COVID, to those other shows that you've been at?
Well, this one I've noticed. I think it's a lot better attended than it has been in the past, and I think because that's probably because because of the COVID issues, it's not been going for the last couple of years.
Right.
So I think people have just been champing at the bit to get here. Really, it's a very small but very friendly show as well. I don't know if it's got the same impact as some of the bigger places like Salute and Partisan, because they're obviously huge affairs, and 6 mil is very much a niche within a niche anyway. But yeah, and there are some fantastic demonstration games on. There's also brilliant participation games on as well. So, from my point of view, it just gets a double thumbs up as far as I'm concerned.
That's great. And I want to ask you about a couple of those games. My first question is, do you also think that part of the reason that this show is so well attended is because people have a chance to meet me?
What do you want me to say, Steve?
Well, I want you to say yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, going back to those games that you talked about, I know I've got some of my favorite games that I've seen here. What have been some of your favorites?
Well, I'd probably say Charles Roundtree's Imogen.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? Just the amount of work he's put into it. Charles did some other stuff as well with the Band of Brothers table he made for, I think it was for Vampire Attack, another show here in the UK, and that was amazing. So when I saw the Imogen, he was working on Imogen, I knew it was going to be good, and it is fantastic.
Oh, I think I spent 30 minutes, right after I got into the show this morning, just talking to him about how he made that table.
It's amazing.
I tried to do as terrain accurate a table as I could for our Sandawana episode. What he did blew anything I did away.
Yeah. And it wasn't just the Korea table. Basically, every table had a good-looking game happening, which makes it tough to single out favorites. The only one that I had time to play was Mark Backhaus's Strength and Honor participation game. It was a very nice 6mm scenario, and somehow Mark managed to also sneak a 2mm scenario into this event. Don't tell Peter. A bunch of us played in the 2mm game, with Josh claiming the Grass Crown in one, and yours truly claiming it in the last session of the day.
It's no big deal. Just Emperor for the day.
Perhaps 2022 will be the year of the 2 emperors.
One quick word about the traders who attended Joy of 6. Here in the US, we don't get a chance to see many, or really any, 6mm vendors. So the chance to actually shop in person at Heroics and Ross, Baccus, Rapier, and some of these cool terrain vendors is something I've never been able to do in my 20 plus years in the hobby.
The vendors seemed quite busy throughout the day, but we did manage to sneak in some interviews with exhibitors, game masters, and hobby luminaries roaming the university halls. And I want to ask you specifically about one of the questions that came up at that panel that seems to come up every single year here at Joy of 6, which is why is it that there is seemingly so little coverage of this scale in the glossy magazines? Year after year, people ask the exact same question. So let's get it from the horse's mouth. Yeah.
It's a trap.
In the weeks and months ahead, we hope to share more of our extended-length interviews as separate videos, including the rest of my ambush with Guy Bowers of WSS Magazine, and my chat with Luke from Geek Gaming Scenics, one of my favorite channels on YouTube. His recent Normandy project builds are incredible, and Luke and I had a great conversation about the future of his channel and why he came to Joy of 6. Might there be some small-scale gaming in Luke's future? I'll let Luke surprise you with that news.
The venue at Sheffield Hallam University was also a welcome surprise. It's modern, brightly lit, full of natural light. There was food and drink right there, just steps away from the gaming. The overall atmosphere was outstanding, but certainly a bit different from U.S. shows.
The overall vibe for the show, very, very friendly, very welcoming. It's a very different way of approaching games because they have the demo games, and even their participation games are much shorter as far as how long you can participate than we're used to. And I didn't know how I would feel about that coming in, but just observing how it worked, I can see why it is popular here, and maybe it's something that we could see more of in the States at some point, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was extremely intimate.
Dave, speak about your own intimates.
Hey.
We don't know.
But I will say that at least for the game I was playing, the time ran out too fast.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh, it's time to move on. And I was like, but I'm not done.
Yeah, but the nice thing is, though, you can have a beautiful game that is set
Yeah.
up, and you give a huge portion of the people that are here who want to play the opportunity to do it. At a U.S. show, if a particular GM is only running one session and it's a 4-player game, 4 people at a show that might have 2,000 attending get an opportunity. Here at a show like this, you have 300, 350 people, and 4 or 6 at a time for an hour each. You know, you're going to be able to get many more of the people who want to try that game, and I like that aspect of it. And it's great for trying out rules, too.
If I had to offer any complaint about Joy of Six, it's that we just didn't have enough time to try out more games and more rules. I had 3 or 4 games on my personal demo wish list, but the day flew by so quickly. I really wanted to try the Sudan death game. British and Mahdi's for the Sudan were among my many purchases at Joy of Six, and James Mitchell's game looked fantastic. Aside from the day ending too quickly, it's hard to consider Joy of Six 2022 as anything but a rip-roaring good time.
We've had more people through the door than ever. We've had more people trying to get through the door quicker than ever. And they're all still here. It's gone 10 past 4 at a wargame show, and we're having to shove people out of the doors. And that is unheard of. It's been an amazing event today. I am so pleased.
Despite any differences in style between US and UK shows, what was most remarkable about Joy of Six is how familiar it felt. The energy, the enthusiasm, the friendliness. It's a reminder how international our hobby is and how tabletop gaming can bring people together.
Of course, we didn't fly to the UK just to attend one show. We spent an entire week touring multiple battlefields, museums, and filming for future wargame episodes of Little Wars TV. In the months ahead, all of those tours and wargames will appear here for free on YouTube. Now, if you're a patron of the channel, you can actually see a complete day-by-day video diary, which is available right now on Patreon. Whether it's all the pubs that tricked us into thinking they were the oldest pub in England, or a stop to London's oldest cigar shop, frequented by Winston Churchill, we bring you along the entire week-long adventure with the guys. Lastly, a few quick shout-outs we want to make. Thanks to Oliver for being the first fan of the channel who walked up to us in London on our very first day, and then Tom, who stumbled upon us in St. Albans. We have to thank the Perry brothers for the awesome afternoon in Nottingham. And of course, thank you to Nigel for the gift from Greece and Ian for the fine bottle of scotch. Very classy. And to anyone and everyone who came up to say hi this past week, it was awesome to meet you in person.
A huge thank you to Peter Barry and his entire team for putting on a great show in Sheffield. Speaking of shows, one final reminder that our biggest historical wargaming event in the USA, Historicon, is almost upon us, the weekend of July 22nd. Links are in the description below.